Good evening. We're talking about the full moon this month in August. On the 9th, we have a full moon with the sun in Leo and the moon in Aquarius. It's a very powerful full moon and one that has great ramifications for everybody in the world. But there's some individual instructions for all of us here. And if you look at the sun and moon and their opposition to each other here, they're at 17 degrees of fixed signs. Mars and Neptune and Saturn are on 1 degree of a cardinal sign. 1 degree of cardinal signs and 15 degrees of fixed signs are considered to be the world point, which means things that happen there affect everything in the world. Now, obviously, every full moon, every new moon affects everything in the world, but there's a special significance when something is on the world point. Now, the sun and moon, when they oppose each other, they're as far away from each other as they can possibly be, the sun being the ego, the moon being the emotion, the environment. And when they oppose each other, they create a great amount of tension. We consider it a culmination point. A month lasts 28 days. Halfway through it, at 14 degrees and into the month, we have the full moon. And in the night sky, the moon shines bright over everything in the land below. And that illumination, the queen of the night, the moon, reigns supreme. Now, this full moon, we have Mars, the planet of energy, opposite Saturn and Neptune, which are with each other at the very beginning of the sign Aries. This hasn't happened for a very long time. Neptune and Saturn conjunct each other every 36 years. That is a time, that's always a time when Neptune, which rules the ideal, is taking shape. Saturn gives structure, gives form. In the beginning of Aries, it places great emphasis on the self. Aries is the beginning, it's the start, it's the initiator, it's the pioneer. Mars, the planet that rules Aries, in Libra is in the sign of one-to-one relationships, connecting. So there is, again, a tension between the Libra energy of let's all do it together and the Aries energy of we're on our own, we're doing it by ourselves. There's tremendous friction in this combination, and Mars is in a grand trine with Uranus and Pluto, and this grand trine is very powerful. Air signs are the sign of the abstract. So the mind is racing, it's very energized. And the amount of cardinal planets in the full moon chart shows that we must act. Now, cardinality is the initiator. It's the energy of acting, behavior, things happening in the material world. The fixed signs, which happen at the middle of any season, are the sustainers. They're the stabilizing influences. And the mutable signs, which come at the end of a season, is the changeable. You can think of it in the Hindu system of looking at life as the cardinal signs are Brahma, the god of creation. The fixed signs are Vishnu, the sustainer, and the mutable signs are the end the destroyer, and that uh, this destructive quality happens at the end of each season as we are transitioning into a new season. Now, it's very interesting that right now, the north node of the moon, which shows the Dharma for the whole world at this time, is in um, Pisces. Pisces is the end of the zodiac, whereas the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is at the beginning of the zodiac. Neptune rules Pisces. It's in the sign of personal activity, and Saturn is giving it structure. Now, Mars, our own individual action, being in Libra at this time, puts a tremendous responsibility on each of us to act with some responsibility in accordance with our own higher beliefs. Now, it is fascinating. We just talked about the grand trine in Uranus, Pluto, and Mars. But it's fascinating that Mars and Pluto and Uranus are all in aspect with this Neptune-Saturn configuration. So this is a tremendous energy of something very striving happening on the world. There's a tremendous desire to get on with things, to make things happen. Now, Neptune-Saturn conjunction tends to diminish or undermine our ability to feel confident in ourselves. And so there is this lingering sense in the whole world at this time of helplessness, of things not going the way that we would like it to be. And Mars is in hard aspect to the moon, hard aspect to the sun, and Neptune and Saturn are in hard aspect to the sun and hard aspect to the moon. This combination is very potent and shows that we will be on the brink at coming out of this full moon of immense potential destructiveness. With Venus and Jupiter just behind the ascendant in this chart here. And this chart is set up for Washington, D.C., which would show the political influence of what's going on during this time period. But Venus and Jupiter, the greater and lesser benefic in that position, energizes us to think positively and allows us to find a way out from under the encumbrance of what would, after all, be a very heavy influence at this time. Now, Mercury, the planet that rules the thought process, the planet of communication, in Leo, the sign of the sun, which is the ego, it gives tremendous potency during this time to our words, our thoughts, our actions, and it can be a tremendous amount of tenacity, a desire to hold on to our own thought process regardless. Now, Mercury is retrograde at this time, and it is opposite Pluto. Mercury opposite Pluto shows tremendous energy in the thought process, but also Pluto being the planet that's all or nothing. Mercury at this time, being retrograde, is uncovering things that we have done in the past, things that we've put in motion in our recent past that may not be exactly what we had intended or what we would wish for. And so the most conscious people at this time will strive to cut a new path, to say, okay, I'm going to erase the difficulties here. I'm going to correct my behavior and go on to something more positive. Yeah, we've been through tough times before, and the fact that this full moon is difficult doesn't mean that it's the end of days. It doesn't mean that we are doomed, but it behooves each of us to be our better selves and to overcome the lower side of our own desire nature so that we can contribute something positively to the world, but starting with our own family, with the people closest to us. And we are on an upward trajectory, and we will end up in a positive place. I hope to see you again sometime soon. Thank you for spending a few moments with me. Have a great rest.